Joining us is Bloomberg columnist William Pesek. Willie, now, we've been here before, surely. But it does seem like we've got a bit of a different edge to this. Why is it different this time around?
Well, I think the issue is China. In many ways, China over the years has been North Korea's biggest benefactor, of course, its biggest supplier of financial aid, oil, food, that kind of thing. The question is the extent to which China is getting fed up. I think of North Korea as a giant mosquito kind of buzzing around China's head, threatening to sting at any moment. And in many ways, China has enough on its plate right now. It has to avoid overheating in the economy. It has to avoid labor tensions, that kind of thing. There's a lot going on in Beijing. This is a bad time for China to be worrying about North Korea. So I think in many ways you will see China becoming fed up with North Korea, and you will see a different stance towards North Korea. Will China be comfortable at this point essentially defending every action that North Korea makes going forward? I think maybe not. And so I think in many ways you will see China cooperating more in the months ahead with the U.S., with South Korea, with the UN. And if so, that's good news for markets, because it does suggest a kind of come down, if you will, for tensions in the region.
Willie, we heard the joint statement coming through. There was no mention of North Korea specifically, so it's going to take quite a bit, isn't it, for Japan and South Korea to convince China to change its stance. And perhaps it's better that they don't publicly come out with things, because perhaps China can do things under the scenes, as it were, behind the scenes even. That's
very, very true. But I really don't think what the U.S., Japan, and South Korea say here matters. I think what matters is what North Korea is doing. I think in many ways you have to expect officials in Beijing sitting in their offices getting fed up, essentially, with these kinds of provocations from North Korea. And if this continues, I do think China will become more willing to cooperate. You've seen China in recent weeks, sort of turn direction on Iran, if you will, Iranian sanctions. And that is a step in the right direction, I believe. And I think in many ways, the question where China is concerned is its economic might is not in question. Whether or not it will become a good global citizen, if you will, going forward, that is the question. And I think North Korea is a perfect opportunity for China to prove to the world that it is.
So, looking ahead, that's possibly what the outcome of this round of tensions between the North and the South could well be. Perhaps a realpolitik taking place with China at the helm.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think you already are seeing indications that this time things are different in Beijing. It's very subtle. It's really kind of a connect the dots kind of argument at this point. But I do think when you look at the comments coming from Prime Minister Wen, when you look at indications coming from Beijing, there is a bit of, if you will, a bit of a lack of tolerance at this point for what's going on in Pyongyang. And I do think that will manifest itself in better ties between the U.S. and South Korea and North Korea going forward.
Willie, what about just how does this particular dispute end here? Does somebody have to lose face at the end of it, or do you think there'll be some sort of face-saving exercise?
Well, I think South Korea has been very, very careful to give North Korea a lot of latitude here. South Korea has essentially said we would like for North Korea to apologize for what happened with the recent ship sinking. It hasn't actually talked about assigning blame, if you will. It's talked about this as more of an accident than a provocation. So I think South Korea has acted in a very responsible way, which has given North Korea an opportunity to come out and with a kind of face-saving apology, if you will, going forward to reduce tensions. And I think the question here is, what does North Korea want? North Korea wants attention. It wants more aid. It's likely to get it. But I also think the quid pro quo will be a more compliant North Korea going forward, hopefully.
Willie, thanks a lot for that. Willie Pesek joining us from Tokyo.